Animals can be dangerous, sometimes even the ones we think as gentle can turn deadly in an instant. In the early 1900s, circuses brought exotic animals to small towns across America. People marveled at lions, tigers, and elephants. One elephant in particular would become infamous not for her tricks, but for the tragic events that unfolded in 1916. Her name was Mary. Mary was an Asian elephant owned by the circus named Sparks World Famous Shows. Back in the early 1900s, circuses were a big deal. There was nothing better to do. When the circus came to town, it was the highlight of the year. And Mary wasn't just any elephant, she was the star attraction. She could balance on the ball, play musical instruments, even catch baseballs. She wasn't just the star, she was the circus. The posters advertised her, the children begged their parents to see her. Mary was a celebrity in her own right. But all of that would change in the year 1916, in a small town called Kingsport, Tennessee. On September 12, 1916, the circus rolled into Kingsport. Among the workers that day, there was a man named Red Eldridge. He wasn't an experienced handler. In fact, he was basically a hotel worker who had picked up a circus job just the day before. He had no background in caring for elephants, and yet somehow he was placed in charge of leading Mary during the parade. And here's where things took a turn for the worse. During the parade, Mary spotted something on the ground, a watermelon. Elephants love fruit. But when she reached for it, Eldridge stuck her with a bullhook, a sharp tool used to control elephants. Some accounts say he hit her behind the ear, others say he jabbed her too hard, but what's clear is this: Mary snapped. In a split second, she swung around, grabbed Eldridge with her trunk, and slammed him into the ground. Then, according to eyewitnesses, she crashed his head with her foot. This was shocking. Elephants are intelligent animals. They have memories, emotions, and strong bonds with their handlers. But they can also be unpredictable, especially when mistreated. To the people of Kingsport, what they saw wasn't an accident. It wasn't an act of self-defense. To them, it was murder. And suddenly, Mary was no longer loved by all the crowd. News spread instantly. Imagine the gossip in a small 1916 town. The elephant killed a man. Newspapers picked it up, embellishing the story with horrifying details. Some reports even claimed she had gone on a rampage, charging through the streets, killing people left, right and center, which wasn't true. But the townspeople demanded justice. People shouted that if the circus didn't act, they'd take matters into their own hands. There were even calls to shoot her on the spot. And so, in the most American fashion possible, local blacksmith, Hench Cox, tried to kill Mary himself, firing 5 rounds from a pistol. But against her massive frame, the bullets had little effect. So what did they decide to do? Something that even today sounds almost too absurd to believe. They decided to execute Mary by hanging her. The circus needed to make an example. They needed to prove to the angry crowd that justice was served and also protect their reputation. So they announced Mary would be publicly executed in the nearby town of Erwin. And so, on September 13th, 1916, a crowd of over 2,500 people gathered at the railroad. Children, parents, everyone came to watch. The circus led Mary to a massive 100-ton crane used for lifting railroad cars. They chained her feet, looped a heavy chain around her neck, and hoisted her in the air. The first attempt went horribly wrong. The chain snapped under her enormous weight and Mary crashed to the ground. But they weren't finished. They brought out a thicker chain, looped it again, and pulled her up once more. This time, the chain held. Slowly, Mary was lifted off the ground, and that was the end for the poor elephant. The crowd dispersed, and the circus buried her body near the railway. The story of Mary spread far and wide. Newspapers around the country printed sensationalized accounts. Some described Mary as a bloodthirsty beast. Others criticized the cruelty of hanging an animal. But either way, damage was done. The name Murderous Mary stuck. For decades, her gravesite was unmarked. Locals in Erwin passed the story down as a kind of dark folklore. Some said that they could still hear the elephants trumpeting at night near the tracks.